I'm going to talk briefly about the Union Army that was located here in and around where we are in Henricus, in Chesterfield County, in Henrico County. Now, most Union armies were named after rivers. Like the main one is the Army of the Potomac. That's the one that fought General Lee and the Army of Northern Virginia there. But the army that was here was named after another river. Do any of you kids, any of you guys know any rivers around here?
The Rappahannock.
Good, that's one that's north of us. Do you know a river? Do you know one?
James.
Very good, the James River, which is fittingly right out there. You know another?
The York.
The York, good. Well, they've got some good Virginia geography here, right? The Rappahannock, Rapidan, York River, right. But Union armies often were named after rivers. The Army of the Potomac, the Army of the Shenandoah, and for us, the Army of the James that was here. Now, this was an army that was kind of playing second fiddle. Not quite as important, really, it seemed, not as famous as the Army of the Potomac, but they had some great success. In fact, this Army of the James, they're the first ones that are into the city of Richmond in 1865. Does anybody know why Richmond was important in the Civil War? That's right, it's the capital. The Army of James is first there. And they're at a blocking point at a place called Appomattox. You guys ever heard of Appomattox?
No.
That's where the Civil War ended there. And the Army of James was important in blocking there. One thing that was unique about the Army of James is they actually also were using a new bit of technology coming into larger play. And what we'll use to demonstrate that will actually be this type of rifle.
Wow, that's so old.
Yeah, well, most rifles that you're going to see demonstrate when they fire, they're going to load at the muzzle. This is the muzzle. Can you guys say that? Muzzle. So if I say it's a muzzle loader, where do I load it?
On the top.
Very good, dear, very good. But this is not a muzzle loader. This is a breech loader. So where's the breech? In the back, that's right. In fact, it's in the back in here. So with this, which is a new piece of technology, I'm actually able to load not one, not two. How many do you think I can bullets? Like, keep going. 5, keep going.
10.
Almost.
7.
There's the man, right? 7, like as many days of the week you can put in here. In fact, even Confederate said this is the weapon that a Yankee can load on a Sunday and fire all week. Because it had, how many bullets?
7.
That's right, like the days of the week. 7 bullets could fit into here. And then they could close it up.
And then they fly.
And that's right, and they fire. It's almost as simple as that. They would just half cock the hammer, load the chamber the round with a little bit of a drop of the trigger guard there, cock it again, and fire. Pow. And then cock it again, drop that, and pow. So how many times a minute do you think you could fire this way? How many, in a minute, in 60 seconds, how many times do you think I could shoot? I got 7 here.
7.
And what's 7 plus 7?
16.
14. Yeah, about 14 or more rounds a minute. Really, you could shoot thereabout with this. That's pretty good, isn't it? That's a lot. So the Army of the, what's this new army called that's here after a river? The Army of the James. The Army of James, many of them were using these in special places. Like Fort Harrison, which is a national park in there. They would use it in the Battle of there. Or other locations you see these things called Spencer or repeating. Or they're not muzzle loaders, but they are breech. Breech. Whole new vocabulary, isn't it? Whole new vocabulary. Breech loaders like this Spencer one here. Now this is pretty cool, right? Do you think this is cheap or expensive?
Probably expensive.
Very expensive. So do you think you could give all your soldiers this type of weapon?
Probably not.
Probably not. So, and also, that's a lot of bullets to shoot, right? Are bullets free for the gun? No, they cost money too. So there were all these concerns about, well, this is complicated, they use up a lot of ammunition, it's expensive. So most soldiers would use the standard, not breech loader, but very good. Well done, dear, well done. And we're going to demonstrate how that fires here. So I want you to contrast the new technology with the more standard traditional technology here. Okay, so what they're going to go ahead and do is load in 9 times. There are 9 different steps that we'll kind of go through and explain. They'll call it out and I'll say what they're doing. Bring the gun in front of them like so. Then they're gonna reach into their cartridge box and take out a cartridge and tear the cartridge, pouring it into the barrel there. The powder goes in there and the musket ball goes into it. All of it there goes in. Now, I want you to watch what they're going to do. Charging it in there, putting it, I'll tell you when, I'll give you a warning. Now they're going to draw their rammer. The rammer goes, that's right, goes in there, rams it home. Did I have to use a ramrod on this? Do they have to? Yes, the muzzle loader, you have to. That's what you see them doing. And then they have to take it back out and return the rammer. All stuff that, did I have to do it? They do. Now they're going to cast about the weapon and bring it up to a half cock. So they have to do a different step there. They have to put a little cap on the nipple there, which is going to cause an explosion when fired. Have they fired yet, guys? Is it a lot of steps? It is. All right, go ahead and cover your ears if you want.
Ready. Aim. Fire.
Now they're just going to load. Now he's not going to call out the steps. They're just going to go through and load within it. And again, they should be able to fire 3 rounds a minute. How many do you, what would I be doing if I had this the whole time while they're doing that? I'd be able to keep shooting, wouldn't I? A lot more with, what type is this again? Muzzle or breech? Very good. What do they have? Very good.
Ready. Aim. Fire. Load.
So you see some of them are not as always fast because it has to be as drilled within that. And armies, they were getting new soldiers all the time too, and they'd have to learn how to do that as well. Now, they didn't always have to fire all at once like you see there. You guys see this rope that's in front of you? Now, instead of that rope, picture it being a long line of soldiers all the way down there. And let's say you had them start at this end, where 2 of them fire, and the next 2, and the next 2, and the next 2, and the next 2, next 2. What's going to happen by the time that they're in? What are these guys going to be able to do? And shoot again, and just keep it around that way. There are lots of different ways to do this. Right. What questions do you guys have?
But, let me see, I'm going to do on this side. Let me see. Hey, how old are you? 11, good age. Okay, so what if the only way that you could sign your name, write your name, is this is all you were allowed to do by law? That's your name.
Wow.
That's it. All right, so if you don't have an education and you can't actually write, you don't know how to read, by law, that's all you get. You get to make your mark by putting an X. Okay? All right. So if you're a soldier and you're a person, you want to get paid, you want to have contracts, right? You need a name. All right. So,
I'm not going to pay $500. No, she's just a whiny.
How good can you be on guard duty if you can't read a note?
Not at all.
So the U.S. Christian Commission, which I portray, they would come to the Army. They're a volunteer agency.
Yeah.
And their job is to basically...
No, wait.
Well, all right. You want to teach? That's cool. All right, be teachers. What are you going to teach? This. Oh, wait a minute. The purpose of...
Abigail.
She's going to help.
Oh. So...
Yeah.
So those two know each other, I guess, huh?
They have a hate relationship.
Aww. I'm impressed by the double. That's really good. So if I was a soldier, I would need to be literate. That's the U.S. Christian Commission is basically. You guys have heard of the YMCA. The YMCA is like, hey, let's go help out the war effort. What are we good at? Helping people. All right, let's go help people at the armies. That's what they do. So Christina here, if she's a local civilian and she's got no home because her house caught fire and there's no place to live, the U.S. Christian Commission would say, okay, I know you're a rebel, but you're also a Christian, probably, right? and you're one of God's children, that means we should help you. And that's what they did. So I'll turn it over to her, and she can maybe give some. What struggle would you have if you were a civilian and you were facing the armies coming to your farm? What do you do?
Yeah, so just to set the scene a little bit, the person I would be representing would be a woman who, more than likely there were no men in the house, right? The men are off fighting. So women are running the farms. Women are trying to keep things going. And at this point, in 1864, we have the armies are hungry. So they've probably devoured all of our fencing that keeps all of our livestock, and they've probably taken our livestock. So we don't have cows for milk. We don't have pigs and chickens for meat and eggs. We probably have had our vegetable store raided. We probably don't have any grain. We don't have anything that we would have had saved up for the winter. Either we haven't been able to grow it because there's been a battle that's been fought on our land, or an army's come and taken it because, I mean, they have to eat too. So you're looking at the prospect of wintering in an area where you may not be able to have anything to eat.
No, pleasure to make the acquaintance.
And then of course you've got the fighting. So you can hear the guns coming closer and closer. There are armies that are going past your house. When is it going to be? When are you going to have a shell in your living room? When is that going to happen, or in your parlor?
Yeah, it's a special one to me because
so the families were really faced with a pretty tough choice. I mean, do they leave their homes? There was it a law or an edict or an order by Lincoln?
It was a policy.
A policy that if a Southern family, if a family was occupying a home, that the army they were not allowed to go in and raid that home. They could take anything around the home, but they couldn't go into the home.
If occupied.
If occupied. So you leave, and your home is going to be considered abandoned, and then you are opening it up to somebody, armies going in and taking your stuff. So do you stay? I mean, this could be your home where your great grandfather, built, and the family's been on it since, the time of the Revolution. And are you going to leave that? And what are you going to come back to? But you need to eat. So a lot of families were faced with that kind of a decision. Also, I mean, as a woman by yourself, with the armies going back and forth, I mean, you have to worry about your own safety, your own personal safety as well. So that was the tough choice. Do they stay or do they go? A lot of families did.
Stop throwing rocks. Amelia, stop throwing rocks.
And they would come to the Christian Commission was here and would help them. They would either help them find a place to stay while they're on their way to wherever they need to go, or while they're trying to figure out where they're going to go. There was a barge on the James River. It was a hotel barge, and so a refugee could stay there while they're trying to figure things out. So that was going on, at this time period. And
sometimes they did make them take oaths, which I don't know if they were supposed to do or not. I don't know if they had the power to do that, but I don't think the Christian Commission was supposed to do that. But just imagine, like, you're desolate, right? You have nothing, and well, okay, you want this? Well, you got to swear allegiance to the United States again, then you get it. So that's a tough call. Like, what do you do?
Because you got to eat. You're taking videos, right?
Right, exactly. So it is the complex dynamic of civilians in the war, especially when the war is right here where you live. So the man who lived on this property, Henricus, he had almost 2,000 acres of property. He had almost 100 slaves. He had a grist mill, a sawmill. He had all kinds of animals, all kinds of this. Everything was fine until the summer of 1864, and then the war came to Dutch Gap, and he lost everything. His nearest neighbor, Mr. Aiken, Albert Aiken, had done something probably by chance but smart 2 years before, and he had made a deal with the United States and Confederate governments to have his landing, which is at the bottom of that bridge today. It's there. The house is there today. You can see it when there's no leaves on the trees. Albert Aiken made a deal that his dock, called Aiken's Landing, would be a prisoner exchange for both sides in the Civil War. So basically, Union soldiers that were held in prison camps in Richmond would come to Aiken's Landing to go on ships to go back to New York. Whereas Confederate prisoners of war up north would land at his landing to come back to Richmond. What do you call that? You call it Switzerland. Albert Aiken made his property Switzerland, which means that during the war, when the Union Army comes there, they can't harm it.
You don't need to tell me this.
Brilliant.
'Cause I'm not gonna-
So his son, several years after the war, even though it didn't get harmed, just by the nature of the armies being there, he petitioned a claim to the federal government for $54,000 in damages. And the federal government said, no, 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 no. Why? Because they believe that his son was a spy at that location. Now, who knows? But $54,000 in 1864, that's a lot of money. Yeah, exactly, right? So, yeah, Cox's plantation is gone. Aiken's, well, let's just put it this way. Aiken's house was brick. Cox's properties were wood. The brick houses last longer. Like that chimney, which is from the 1870s lightkeeper's house. So if your house is made out of brick and the war comes, chances are it's going to last a lot longer than the wood. So very simple processes. There's a lot of farms around here that are just 40-acre farms. And those people, I mean, I don't know. What do you do? Can you recoup 40? I mean, a guy like Albert Aiken or Henry Cox, they probably have enough capital and money somewhere, especially in insurance, which they had back then, to possibly go on with their lives even after the damage. If you're a 40, 50-acre farmer and your place gets wrecked, you have nothing. It's zero. So that's what you face. And like we were saying, do you leave your place or do you stay there? If you're a woman, you stay, you risk the danger of getting shot, getting hurt, being, well, other things, because it's an army, right? There's bad dudes everywhere. Right? So you have that.
Starving.
Starving. There's so many dynamics there. So anyway, hopefully that gives a little sense of what it was like, certainly.
And warmth too. Your wood is going to be scarce. How are you going to keep warm?
Yeah, fuel, an army is a wave of locusts. And the first thing they do is take down all the trees. They take down all the fencing, everything. And yeah, you come to your first, in that winter, right, 64, 65,
My brother and his wife.
what are you burning?
I don't know if they node on pearl.
So they're going to be cold. So a lot of times when we talk about the civilians saying, well, I'm going to stay or go, if you go to the north, to Union lines, and there's agencies there that will help you like relocate, you might take it up.
And then I'd be like, does it hurt right now while I'm at
So again, it's part of the conflicts that they would go
So
through.
let's go. And
It's a lot easier actually for a soldier to make a decision because he's just being told to go from one place to the other.
are you okay, Claire? Are you okay?
I would worry too. I would think you'd be worried about if you do leave and your husband or son or family member comes home and you're not there. That would be so disturbing, to think about. Like, what if they came back and you weren't there?
Oh, that's got to be terrible. Well, and that's a dynamic that a lot of the United States colored troops actually faced, which is a lot of these men who were emancipated slaves that had joined the Union Army in places, Kentucky, Eastern North Carolina, wherever they are. They join the Union Army and they're shipped to Virginia or some faraway place, and they literally leave their location where they thought their families were. Now after the war's over, they've got to go back and track them down. Where is my, this person, that person? We take it for granted how easy we can find people today.
I know, cell phones.
I know, right? It's fairly easy between all the technologies we have.
Email.
So anyway, we don't want to keep it too long, but we appreciate you guys coming out today.
Thank you.
You're welcome, and